All right, we got another big one for you today. It's 3:06 here, News Talk 105.9 WMAL, where we're making sense of the news. Coming up, Mark Morgan talks to us about the ongoing border crisis and the death of Laken Riley, and now big city mayors saying maybe it's time to stop being a sanctuary. Yeah, it's about damn time. Mark Morgan will talk to us about that. We have another Mark Paoletta joining us at 4:30. We'll get into more shenanigans in the Biden crime family. Some interesting details coming out today. Mark's got those. And then Hans von Spakovsky is here at 5 o'clock as we get into what is happening today in Fulton County, Georgia, as Fanni Willis, big fat Fanni Willis, could be thrown off of this case that she has mounted against Donald Trump. You can join us, 888-630-9625, 888-630-WMAL. Let me just set the scene for you. Today, as we are speaking, a man by the name of Terrence Bradley has been testifying for a little over an hour down there in Fulton County, Georgia. Terrence Bradley has been the law partner to Nathan Wade. That would be Fanni Willis's lover. And also a longtime friend of Nathan Wade's as a result of his proximity to him, and his divorce attorney at one point. And as a result of his proximity to him, he's in control of a lot of information about the nature of this relationship, when it began, what the two of them were doing together. And apparently Nathan Wade was, to some extent, even by Terrence Bradley's own admission, confiding in him about this secret relationship that he was having with the now district attorney in Fulton County, Georgia. So this man's in control of all of it. And in prior hearings, Terrence Bradley has claimed, well, because I was his divorce attorney, all of those conversations are subject to attorney-client privilege. Therefore, I do not have to answer them. I'll give you no details at all about my knowledge of when their relationship began, what their favorite positions were, anything. I'm not giving you anything. It's attorney-client privilege. That's what Terrence Bradley's been claiming. Well, didn't sit right with the judge. In fact, this past week, over the last few days, the judge met with Terrence Bradley behind closed doors and suss this out a little bit. Let's figure out what exactly actually falls under attorney-client privilege. And the judge concluded, Judge McAfee down there in Atlanta, has concluded that no, actually, you can answer questions about your knowledge of Nathan Wade's relationship with Fanni Willis. And this is essential. This is essential for so many reasons, including whether or not Fanni Willis and Nathan Wade have lied to the court, lied to the state of Georgia about when their relationship began. Willis and Wade both contend that their relationship began after she had hired him to join the case against Donald Trump. But the facts that are available to us, including thousands of text messages, that hasn't even come up yet today, and thousands of phone calls and dozens of apparent booty calls based on geolocation data of their cell phones, demonstrate that that relationship began well before she had ever hired Nathan Wade to go after Donald Trump. And in other words, if that's true, she hired her lover, paid him a tremendous amount of money, and then he turned around and paid for a bunch of lavish trips for the two of them. And then she claims she paid him back in, quote, cash, which was totally undetectable. So that's where we are in terms of everything leading up to today. So Terrence Bradley has been testifying now over the course of the last hour. And just to give, and it has been painful. I got to say, I've been watching it on your behalf, and I ask Corey, we share an office getting ready for the show. I'm throwing stuff at my computer. I'm so furious by this because Terrence Bradley is quite obviously trying to cover for his boy. There's no other way to view this. He's clamming up. I can't recall. Can you repeat the question? He's filibustering. He's speaking very, very, very mind-numbingly slowly. It is the most painful testimony you will ever see. And the woman who's asking the questions on behalf of Donald Trump and his co-defendants is Miss Merchant. Her last name's Merchant. I know because the judge keeps talking to her about this. She's frustrating. It's frustrating to watch somebody else ask questions sometimes because you're like, just ask the damn question. When did they start dating? Describe how you found out. How has Nathan Wade described his relationship with Fanni Willis? Did he tell you to keep it secret? Just get to the point. Now, I don't know. Maybe I can't be a lawyer, or maybe I should be. I have no idea. But the idea is I'm watching this, and I'm deeply frustrated watching all of it. And the other lawyer, meantime, the guy who's representing the Nathan Wade, Fanni Willis, Terrence Bradley side of the room, is raising objection after objection after nuisance objections today, just to disrupt any possible testimony from coming out that proves this is all a huge scam and a hoax upon the people of Georgia. So that's where we are. But there are some interesting clips in here, I will say, despite Terrence Bradley's best efforts. So Bradley was asked today whether or not he was aware that the two of them, that would be Fanni Willis and Nathan Wade, had engaged in some intimate relations inside of the office at work. Now, if your buddy had told you that he had engaged in hanky-panky with his boss at work, you think you'd remember the answer to that question? You think, even years later, do you think if I asked you a decade on, hey, did John Smith ever say that, he got down and dirty with the boss? You would know the answer to that question. The answer would jump out at you. Even if you don't remember most of that year, you would probably remember the answer to that question. Listen to how Terrence Bradley tries to dance through the answer to this very interesting and provocative question.
How do you have knowledge? What knowledge? Well, you just told us. You told us Mr. Wade told you. So tell us what Mr. Wade told you about Miss Willis and Mr. Wade meeting at the Evans office.
Painful.
Objection, Your Honor. Privilege. This clearly covers the time after December 2018 that would be covered by the privilege.
Yeah, overruled.
And by the way, the judge is not even giving explanations anymore. He's just like overruled. He's so tired of these ridiculous objections.
You recall the question, Mr. Bradley?
I do not.
He does. I do not. So he sits there with a stupid look on his face for a full, 30 seconds? Can I get my life back, please, after waiting for that? Do you recall the question? I do not. Miss Merchant repeats it.
You re-asked the question, Miss Merchant.
What did you learn from Mr. Wade? I was clarified that's where you learned it from. About Mr. Wade and Miss Willis meeting at the Evans office.
This is the other thing I got to say about her questioning. And God bless her. I'm glad she's up there doing it. But oh my God, she sounds like a Biden official. She can't even speak. She keeps screwing up the dates. She's like, "What? Tell me, in 2022. She's like, "You mean 2021? Yes, I'm sorry. I meant 2021. Get it right, girl. You're on national television. Knock it out of the park. This is the easiest possible examination you could ever conduct. Just go for it. Just ask the questions.
Together.
I don't object to asked and answered. He's testified that
He hasn't answered. We haven't heard an answer.
He testified he had one conversation with Mr. Wade in the back of his law office.
No, and his answer may change. So
Take him
overruled.
off as to how to answer the question.
Okay, so she raised something interesting there, and she has said this before, to her credit. So what it keeps on happening is, as they raise these objections today, they're coaching him on how to answer the question. They're coaching him. She says, wait a second. They keep coaching him. He keeps staring at Nathan Wade and the attorneys and everybody sitting at the desk looking for clues as to how he should answer the question, rather than just answering the damn question.
I can't recall what the conversation was. I do recall.
I can't recall, by the way, is a famous tell. I mean, when you say those words, it typically means you're trying to avoid perjuring yourself.
Knowing that he would go down to the office, or had been down to the office, but I can't tell you in what capacity or when or any of that. No.
Mr. Wade told you that they had sex at that office, though, correct?
I don't recall him stating that, no.
You don't recall it?
No.
So it's possible he did say that. You just don't remember one way or another?
I do not remember him saying that.
Okay. All right. So now this may come down to, a semantic debate. He didn't say, I had sex with her at the office. Maybe those are not those exact words. Maybe he used some other phrasing to describe his relationship with Fanni Willis. But you hear that, tell me, you're not, I don't need you to be the judge. I don't need you to be the attorney in here. You hear that, what do you conclude? What could you possibly conclude about what you just heard? Of course they had sex in the office, and of course he told Terrence Bradley, and Terrence Bradley's sitting there trying to spin up a storm now to figure out a way that he can avoid getting in trouble with the law while protecting Nathan Wade, who's sitting right in front of him. If that doesn't tell you everything, I don't know what will. Now they have moved on There's no major headlines coming out of this, probably other than that clip. That's really the one. He refuses to give any of the timelines. She says, do you remember when you found out they started dating? Do you remember when you gained knowledge that they were dating? I can't recall a specific date. I'm sorry, that's not the question. I didn't ask you to remember a specific date. Just give me any time frame whatsoever. Do you recall when you found out that they began dating? Sorry, I can't give you a date. I don't know. I have no idea. You can't goalpost it for me. You can't put it in between any particular series of years. No. So Terrence Bradley all of a sudden is Sergeant Schultz. I know nothing. He's saying over and over. I have no idea. Well, I mean, you could work backwards from there. Did you know prior to today that they were dating? Well, yes. Did you know prior to, say, the beginning of this year that they were dating? Well, sure. Okay. Let's keep going backwards, and we'll get to the point at which you're not sure anymore whether or not you knew. Something to that effect. But he is so obviously trying to spin and mislead everybody in that room about what's going on. Now, he's still being subjected to questioning right now, and to give you some sense of what that sounds like, let me push to the live feed right now.
So maybe you can tell the court, in your own words, why in the heck would you speculate in this text message and say that it started when she left the DA's office and was a judge in South Fulton? Why would you speculate and say that in a text?
I knew they had met at the municipal court conference.
How do you know that? I'll stop you right there. How did you know that?
I answered that at the last. I knew that.
You now.
I knew that
So
because
I'm asking you questions, and you are in a situation where you get to give answers.
Mm-hmm.
I'm asking you, how did you know that?
How did I know when they met?
Somebody told you that, right?
When they met?
Yeah.
Yes, correct.
You see what I mean? How painful this is?
Mr. Wade told me when they met.
Yes, obviously.
So you had more than one conversation about the relationship between Mr. Wade and Ms. Willis, because he told you where he met her.
That's
correct?
incorrect. Incorrect.
It's incorrect.
It's incorrect.
Okay. Let's go back to the exhibit. Why would you speculate that that's when they started the relationship? What would cause you to put that down as speculation?
I don't recall, but why I thought that it started at that time. But I do recall that he only met her, and I testified to that he met her at that conference, which was in 2019.
Oh, he can remember that date.
You knew that Ashley Merchant represented a defendant in this case when you were text messaging with her, correct?
Yes, I did. Yes.
And you knew that the reason she was asking you questions about Mr. Wade was because she was trying to show when the relationship began, correct?
No, that's not 100%
It's not, but the
correct.
beginning of the text message.
So, at one point, what we're hearing here is he had engaged in a series of texts with Miss Merchant. She's the attorney who was questioning him earlier. And those text messages have been very inconvenient for him because in those messages, he indicated with some certainty that Nathan Wade did indeed have a long-running relationship with Fanni Willis, a dating relationship with Fanni Willis. And now he's trying to walk back from all of the assertions that he made in those text messages, suggesting that they had different meanings than the ones that any person would obviously interpret as they read them.
Yes, but what messages were before this message, before she said that?
I can't answer that question because I don't have them. All I have is what's in front of you.
Yes.
And it's that she says, do you think it started before she hired me? So you knew, as the counsel for a defendant in this case, that Ms. Merchant was asking you specifically about the knowledge that you had regarding the timing of the relationship between Wade and Ms. Willis, correct?
I mean, based on this, yes, I see what was asked.
And in response to that, you answered directly on your own what you now claim to be speculation, right?
That's correct.
So I ask you one more time before I move to the next part of this. Why would you speculate when she was asking you a direct question about when the relationship started?
Remember, this guy's an attorney.
I have no answer for that.
Okay, Terrence Bradley is an attorney, too, so it's not like he'd be surprised by the nature of his communications somehow being, used against Nathan Wade and Fanni Willis. The whole thing is so wild. We'll keep monitoring for updates. That's a live hearing right now. It's 3:22. All right, let's go to the phones. I've got Sam, Alexandria, line 1. Hello, Sam. You're on the Vince Coglianese Show.
Hey, brother. How you doing today? Thanks for taking my call.
Yes, sir.
You know, while I'm listening to this, and it was just painful listening to the second time as you heard it the first time.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, where's Vincent Gambini? Where's my Joe Pesci to stand there in front? And this is worthy of some sound bites if anybody does it tonight on TV. And just like, did you not hear that he was slipping the sausage in the evidence room? Yes or no? Yes or no?
Little My Cousin Vinny, just some direct questioning.
Absolutely. Go full New York or New Jersey.
Yeah, and then bring in Marissa Tomei as an expert witness, and you've got the whole thing sealed up. It'll be great. Wait, hey, when you said you're wondering if somebody's going to use these, Sam, when you said you're wondering if somebody's going to use a clip tonight on TV after they hear you say it, are you suggesting that there's any particular television show that might listen to this program and derive their content entirely from it?
Well, I'm thinking that there's probably a lot of shows that derive content from your show because it's just so chock full of knowledge.
I was just wondering. I'm just teasing. I honestly, if there is somebody who's in that position right now, a producer or otherwise, we're very grateful. And to whatever extent we can get some credit, we'd be even more grateful. But Sam, thank you as always for your call.
Hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be hilarious.
It would be funny. Actually, My Cousin Vinny, what a great movie. Remember, he's challenging the guy on how long it took him to make grits. He's like, you didn't use instant grits, right? He's like, no self-respecting Southerner would ever use instant grits. And then he was like, your time frame is all wrong then, because if you were making regular grits, this doesn't really add up, does it? Yeah, Sam, thank you. We need a My Cousin Vinny in that room. Your Cousin Vinny's right here on the radio. We're handling it right now. Hey, thanks, Sam. All right, stay with me. I've got Mark Morgan joining us in a moment. We'll talk to him about what's happening on our border, Laken Riley's death, and how one Democrat mayor of a major city says, this sanctuary city thing might not be working out for us.
Perhaps the laws of physics cease to exist on your stove. Were these magic grits? I mean, did you buy them from the same guy who sold Jack his beanstalk beans?
Objection, Your Honor.
Objection sustained.
Are you sure about that 5 minutes?
Ignore the question.
Are you sure about that 5 minutes?
I don't know. I think you made your point.
Are you sure about that 5 minutes?
Boy, that's the questioning we need down in Fulton County, Georgia. Bring in Vinny. He can handle this. You sure about that? You can't recall if they had sex in the office? How about some answers, sir, today? Good to have you with us. It is the Vince Coglianese Show. 3:36 here. Coming up, Mark Paoletta joins us at 4:30. We talk to him about what's going on with the Biden crime family. Hans von Spakovsky is here at 5 o'clock from the Heritage Foundation. We talk to him about what's going on down in Georgia. And we'll talk to you at 888-630-9625. 888-630-WMAL. Holy cow. This week, big news that has shocked the country, and it's just, the latest shock on this subject is the death of Laken Riley down in Georgia. The University of Georgia nursing student who was apparently brutally murdered this past week when she was out jogging. The suspect in that case is an illegal immigrant who was, for a moment, in the custody of the Biden administration and then released into the public. It's an awful story, and he is now accused of murder. The Biden administration, the White House released a statement yesterday, a very terse one, issuing their condolences and saying that anyone who did something wrong should be held accountable. No mention of whether or not Joe Biden satisfies that particular category. Somebody who did something wrong here, or Alejandro Mayorkas for that matter. Let's bring in Mark Morgan, the former acting commissioner of U.S. Customs and Border Protection under the Trump administration. He's also a visiting fellow at the Heritage Foundation. Mark, good to have you back with us, sir. Thank you.
You too, Vince. Thanks for having me.
This, of course, is a tragedy, and it is just the latest one. We keep hearing this story. We just have different Americans who are killed each time. What do you think?
Vince, that's exactly right. And look, you're one of the few kind of hosts that are actually putting that together. And first of all, I don't mind, real quick, yes, I agree. President Biden, Secretary Mayorkas, who is his accomplice, they actually absolutely should be held accountable. We have the first step in Mayorkas being held accountable. And I'm going to say one more harsh thing, but I'm going to stand by this. Blood is on their hands. There is no doubt. And as you said, this is the frustrating part. As tragic as the death of Laken Riley is, she's not the first and she won't be the last. Let's not forget about Kayla Hamilton or Elizabeth Medina. Again, two young girls that were taken by the illegal aliens that are in this country, Vince. And if I can't, a quick couple of stats. In 2023, ICE arrested 73,000 criminal illegal aliens in the United States, including murderers, rapists, pedophiles, aggravated felons, and gang members. From 2011 to 2024, Texas alone arrested over 300,000 illegal aliens that had committed 500,000 crimes. 500,000 crimes, including 950 homicides, 1,100 kidnappings, and 60,000 assaults. And that's in the state of Texas alone, Vince. So I'm glad we're talking about it. We should be talking about it. But this has been going on for a while.
Yeah, it's completely out of control. Democrats are, of course, trying to downplay it. Katie Porter, a congresswoman from California, was on CNN last night, and she said that we shouldn't let one little old murder change our immigration policy. Take a listen.
Well, I think when a horrible tragedy like this happens, I think whenever we're dealing with violent crime, there is a sense of outrage, of sadness, and of loss. But I think the important thing to focus on is any one instance shouldn't shape our overall immigration policy.
Yeah, Mark, let's not get too crazy. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. It was just one murder.
Exactly. And here's the issue. I mean, so besides the stats I just rattled off, here's what's incredible about this. It's not one. That's what we're talking about right now. I mean, every single day. And, by the way, in the past 36 months, CBP, Customs and Border Protection, they've apprehended well over 70,000 criminals at our border, including murderers, rapists, pedophiles, aggravated felons, and thousands of gang members. Again, that's who we've apprehended.
Yes.
Now, the same time period, there have been 1.9 million known gotaways. So that representative, she's out of her mind. She's lying to the American people. She's lying to herself. 1.9 million known gotaways. We could have tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, of gang members and criminals that now call the United States home because of this administration's open border policy.
And we just found out in the last 24 hours, it was just over a week ago, that we had several police officers shot in Washington, D.C. A man barricades himself inside of a home in D.C., keeps firing out of the building indiscriminately over the course of some 13 hours or so, and they finally get him out of the house. Just found out this week that man is also an illegal immigrant. And so these are things that would not have happened were they not allowed to be here in the first place.
That's right. Look, all crime is not preventable, but I know one type of crime that's preventable. That's done by illegal aliens that never should have been in the country in the first place. And with Laken Riley, look, there's multiple failures, and I think this is why it's gaining so much attention, right? It's because obviously the tragic loss of life, but that there were multiple failures that could have prevented it. First, he enters illegally from Venezuela, and then at the stroke of Mayorkas' direction, his pen, they unlawfully paroled him into the United States, Vince. Then he goes to New York, and then this is where the second element of failure comes in, sanctuary cities. He commits another crime in New York, engagement of a child, and before ICE even knows about it to be able to put a detainer, they release him because NYPD is prohibited from actually working with their federal partners. But here's the kicker. Even if ICE had known and they put a detainer, NYPD wouldn't have honored it because, again, they're prohibited from doing so.
Yes.
He still would have been released to travel to Georgia to be with his brother who's in the country illegally and allegedly kill Laken Riley.
That's right. And that's because New York City, like so many other major Democrat-run cities, is a sanctuary city. Mayor Eric Adams, for the first time in his time as a mayor of New York City, seemed to indicate that it's time for at least some component of that to change. Here he is yesterday hedging a little bit on the idea that they should continue to be a sanctuary city. Take a listen.
Now, the overwhelming number of migrants in the cities that are here,
They want to work. I still don't understand why the federal government is not allowing them to work. They need to have the right to work, like all of us that have come to this country have the ability to do so. But those small numbers that are committing crimes, we need to modify the sanctuary city law, and if you commit a felony, a violent act, we should be able to turn you over to ICE and have you deported.
A little hard to hear that, but he said we need to modify our sanctuary city laws for those illegals who are committing crimes, turn them over to ICE, and have them deported. It sounds like a step in the right direction, but I have two reactions to this. One, why did it take so damn long to have this position at all? And two, why not just go full tilt and say no more sanctuary status at all?
So, look, Vince, that's why I love coming on your show, because I couldn't have said it better myself. I agree with both points, right? It's way too long. It's way overdue. But look, there's something very nuanced in his statement, though, if you listen to it. He said, if you're charged with a felony, a violent crime, so it's a step in the right direction, but this is very much like what Secretary Mayorkas has done with restricting ICE, meaning you basically have to be convicted of a violent crime before you as an illegal alien, you're actually going to coordinate.
So this would not have stopped Laken Riley's murderer. Because Laken Riley's murderer was picked up on child endangerment because he had a kid on a bicycle without a helmet on.
Correct. That was not a violent felony. And so what Mayor Adams is saying about Vince right now, that's my point. You nailed it, is that would not have changed the thing. Laken Riley still would have been killed because he still would have been released, even with what the small modification Mayor Adams is talking about.
So I just want to take people back in time. So you have it on the city side where they declare themselves a sanctuary city. But on the federal side, the current president of the United States back in 2020 said that illegal immigrants who are arrested anywhere in the country should not be turned over to ICE. Here's what he said.
Vice President Biden, you opposed sanctuary cities as a presidential candidate in 2007. Where do you stand now? Should undocumented immigrants arrested by local police be turned over to immigration officials?
No.
No. So the position of the federal government's leader is that illegal immigrants should not be taken into custody by the federal immigration law enforcement.
Vince, I'm so glad you brought this up from the archives. A lot of people have forgotten about this, but myself and some other colleagues like Derek Montz and Tom Holman and some others, that's why we've been saying for a long time, the Biden administration has created a sanctuary country. And right now, even in the congressional testimony, Secretary Mayorkas finally admitted, because he had to, they're releasing right now approximately 85% of those that were accounting our border. They're being released, never to be heard from again. So we have created in the past 3 years, make no mistake, we are living in a sanctuary city. Country, sorry.
Yeah, no, it's a great line. I as soon as you said it, that's one of those things where I was like, that's so smart. It is true. They've turned us into a sanctuary country, and this is the end result of that, where we get all this chaos in our country. Biden, for his part, is claiming that he wants to fix all of it now. They went. How did you react to all of this, Mark? I mean, you've got for 3 years now, Biden, Mayorkas. They keep saying that the border is secure. And then just a couple of weeks ago, for the very first time, Joe Biden, Alejandro Mayorkas, everybody, the media even, in unison, all moving together saying, well, now it's a crisis and now it's Trump's fault.
Yep, exactly. Look, I was born at night, but not last night. And I think the majority of the American people see this, Vince, as what it is. We're in the throes of the final few months of an election year. There's no intellectually honest person that can deny the undeniable chaos and lawlessness of border. So now you're right, after 3 years of denying it. How many times have we seen Secretary Mayorkas, when asked directly, is this a crisis? He refuses to admit it's a crisis. And like you said, just a couple of weeks ago, he finally did. But here's the key. So they finally admitted a crisis, but then what's the second part of that statement, that sentence? Immediately started blaming two entities. One, Donald Trump, and two, the Republicans, because they wouldn't push forward a nonsensical giveaway that they called a border security bill. When in reality, 7-8 months ago, the Republicans in the House passed H.R. 2, the strongest piece of border security legislation that's ever been passed, Vince. It went over Chuck Schumer's Senate for 8 months. He wouldn't put it on the floor. He wouldn't allow public debate. He wouldn't even allow amendments to that bill. He said, nope, we're not doing it. And then he came up with this ridiculous giveaway bill to sanctuary cities and NGOs, and no wonder it failed, and it should have. And they continue to lie to the American people about it.
Yeah, they certainly do. One of the biggest components in that bill that doesn't get much discussion, though, is nationwide e-verify. That you got to be an American citizen to work in America, or you have to be here legally to work in America. Do you think that, first of all, will that ever pass? Is that something that Republicans and Democrats can ever come together on? And in particular, do you think that there are enough Republicans who support it? I get the sense that there are plenty of Republicans who won't want to say it out loud, but they don't support e-verify.
No, I'm going to say it out loud, Vince. Again, you're spot on. That's the issue right now with respect to e-verify. Look, there's a couple things. So illegal aliens coming to the United States, they want 5 things. They want to be able to enter illegally, be free from deportation, work illegally, send money home, and bring family members. Those are the 5 things we need to tack to de-incentivize. And the 2 most important ones, one of them is take away their ability to work illegally. But the other part is you have to end, catch, and release. So you have to stop releasing them, and then those that get in here, we have to make sure that they can't work illegally. And the best way to do that is to go after the companies that are actually knowingly and willfully hiring illegal aliens, because they're further marginalizing an already marginalized U.S. workforce. They're paying substandard wages, substandard conditions, and there's a lot of Republicans out there that want that to continue because the Chamber of Commerce is footing their bill for their reelection bids.
Yeah, it's disgrace, and thank you for helping us call it out. Mark Morgan, again, always great to talk to you. Thank you for your wisdom on this subject and so much more. Thank you, Mark.
You bet. Thanks, man.
That's Mark Morgan, a man who's worked on protecting America's borders rather than opening them, which is what we have right now. And I want to play at least one more piece of audio for you. This was aired. Was this morning on Fox? Rachel Campos Duffy had this. It was this morning, yeah. Rachel Campos Duffy, who is bilingual at least. She may speak other languages, I'm not sure, but she does speak Spanish. And she was asking illegal immigrants on the border who they prefer for the benefit of illegal immigrants. And they, every single one of them said Biden. They said, she asked, who's better for illegal immigrants, Trump or Biden? And they were cheerful about it. They were smiling. They were Biden, they said.
¿Quién es mejor para el inmigrante ilegal?
Inmigrante ilegal. Illegal immigrants. Who is better for illegal immigrants?
Donald Trump or Joe Biden?
Joe Biden.
Joe Biden. ¿Cuál es mejor, Trump or Joe Biden?
John Biden, de igual manera.
Joe Biden. Trump or Joe Biden?
John Biden.
Trump or Joe Biden?
John Biden.
Joe Biden. Trump or Joe Biden?
Joe Biden.
Joe Biden. We're asking for Joe Biden to help us accomplish our dreams here, and so we can get ahead.
Joe Biden is better for illegal immigrants. By the way, keeping an eye on what's going down in Fulton County, Georgia, and we'll discuss that with Hans von Spakovsky at 5 o'clock. I'm not seeing any huge headlines breaking through, just that the testimony's continuing. The testimony's in recess. They'll come back soon, so that tells you a lot. But the idea here is you've got this guy spinning on behalf of Fanni Willis and Nathan Wade. Oh, I don't recall when I was told that they started sleeping together. You don't recall? You don't recall anything? Yeah, I don't recall. It's taken forever to get that out. Let me take Leo in Front Royal now on line 1. Leo, good afternoon. You are on the Vince Colonnade Show. Hello, sir.
Yes, it's really important. Mr. McConnell should join the Speaker of the House in shutting down the border and not being afraid to shut down the government. Ronald Reagan shut down the government 8 times, yet was reelected with 49 of the 50 states electors.
Right.
He got all 49.
Mm-hmm.
Only one state voted against him in the end.
Yeah, so McConnell, Leo's point, it was a little rough at the top of the call, but the point here is that McConnell should join hands with Mike Johnson and say, yeah, we're not funding the government anymore until you actually secure our border. That's your job. And today, you had like Chuck Schumer crying about the state of the border, but he wasn't talking about America's border. He was talking about Ukraine today, which is just totally insane.
Because Reagan, he shut down the government 8 times, and yet he was reelected with a huge majority. He lost only one state in his second election.
Yeah, have some courage. You're right, Leo. Thank you. In fact, I'm going to share some audio coming up with you. This is, Chuck Schumer and Mike Johnson and the White House and what's going on today as they negotiate. Remember when Trump used to do this? He would bring Chuck and Nancy over to the White House, and everyone's arguing on camera. Trump's like, we need border security. We just need a wall. We need a wall. And Nancy Pelosi's like, but. And they're all yelling. And Mike Pence is just sitting there looking around like he doesn't even know how he got the invitation to this meeting. Yeah, those were the good old days. Now we don't have that wall. Now we have a major crisis. Trump was right all along. How many times do you have to say that?